it's Antia Boyd.
And Boyd.
And we're the creators of the Magnetize The Man Summit. So really excited for you to jump right into the next interview because we have created this for you to stop attracting emotionally unavailable men, overcome your trust issue, and so much more. So you attract that right man for you that makes you feel seen, cherished, and supported.
Can't wait to see you inside the interview and get you on the path to magnetizing your man once and for all. See you there. Look forward to it.
Mwah! Hello, I'm Antia Boyd, leader of the Magnetize The Man Summit, where single, successful women crack the attraction code and live their happily ever after. And look, what would be a happily ever after without knowing more about your soulmate, and that you can have a happily ever after at any age. There's no way that you're over the hill when you're over 40 or 50. And what better expert to talk to this and about this today than Kathryn Ellis. Welcome,
Hi.
Kathryn.
Hi, Antia. Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you.
I'm sure so many ladies recognize you from your books and your workshops and all the work you've been doing over decades. And for those of you who don't, let me just tell you a little bit about Kathryn, because she was a single mom for 10 years before meeting her soulmate, John. She's a late bloomer who then had 2 more children. See, I told you, in her 40s. And Kathryn is considered one of the U.S. foremost experts on soulmates and dating. And she's also the author of, and I love her book, you definitely have to read that, Love Will Find You. She teaches around the world and is responsible for thousands of people recovering from heartbreak and finding the love of their lives. Her work was featured in Psychology Today, USA Today, Daily Mail, New York Times, Parade. I mean, on and on the list goes, right? And so much more media. But what I love about Kathryn too is that she has directed the Agape Crisis Support Team for 6 years. And she's a graduate of Vanderbilt University. And of course, she's been married herself with her own soulmate for 15 years. And together they have their lovely 4 boys. So welcome, Kathryn.
Well, thank you, Antia. That was quite an introduction.
And you might notice, ladies, in the left-hand corner to the left of Kathryn, look, does that photo look familiar? That's Brody and I. Yeah, Kathryn, that was my first workshop I took. Gosh, like 10 years ago, right, Kathryn? Like I came to your Release a Person workshop.
I think that was one you did because I remember, and I am so happy for you.
Yes.
You're one, and you guys are such a great team.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you and really give all those women the hope that it's possible for them. That's really what I got from you. You know, you like really instilled this hope inside of me. I really found this belief inside of myself again. So let's talk a little bit about why are you so passionate about what you're doing and why you're so, have helped so many countless couples. We just see a couple in the background, but doesn't even cover it over the decades to find love.
Right. Well, it started with me directing crisis support, which you mentioned. And the biggest cause of crisis would be people coming in suicidal over love, over a bad marriage or marriage falling apart, a breakup, it not working out with someone they wanted, or just not finding love and being incredibly lonely. That's how my work started, because I saw a need, and we had really good success rate, even from early on, of turning people around and helping them to find love. So all my work comes out of that kind of hands-on working with people. And it just is so rewarding. This wall of weddings, it's why I do this, because it just, you know how it is. Oh, there's nothing greater than helping someone find their soulmate and be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I watched so many of my friends too over the years, you know, who worked with you. So absolutely. And, you know, today we're talking about that you can find love no matter at what age you're in, right? And so what do you find women are, let's say over 40, you know, what do you feel are some of their limiting beliefs that they have that really keeps them stuck?
Well, the big belief probably is about age, that if you're not a spring chicken, you're not as attractive. These are beliefs people tell me, or maybe they've missed it. You know, love has passed them by. And so we were discussing before, one of the things I teach is it's never too late for love. And that has been my experience. People find their soulmate into their 80s and even 90s. And I've had people walking down the aisle in a white dress in their 60s and 70s and just as happy as if they were teenagers. So I've never found that limit.
Yeah. So what do you feel like those people have in common?
I think that they did what we're talking about. They found renewed hope, and they had to change their belief that somehow love has passed me by, I'm too old, or whatever it is, to being one that I get love, that there's someone really hot earmarked for me, and I can open up and magnetize them, which I know is what you're doing in this summit.
Yeah.
Helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you feel like is a good first step for those women who are really struggling? And I remember also like in the workshops that you were leading, there were some women who wanted to be right, and be like, no, Kathryn, you don't understand. Everybody else can find love, but I'm different.
Well, that's when I have to call them, because in that moment they're arguing for their limit. And usually there's a reason. They're scared. They're giving up. They don't want to hope because they're scared their hopes will be crushed again. And that kind of lends to the first step that we're talking about. And that is to have faith again that you get love and you're not left out, and nothing that you could tell me is a good reason for your not getting love. It's never too late. So I have to drill that into their head. I am so lucky because I have this track record where I can look back and point to a lot of cases of people just like them who got love. So nobody could tell me any reason they don't get love. I won't buy it.
Right. Do you have like one story of like a really stubborn woman where you were maybe even like, I don't know, if this is ever going to happen with that mindset, but then you just really, you turned her around, or she turned herself around through your work?
Yeah. Well, I try not to doubt, because I do get what I call the hard cases or the holdouts. And those are people who are having a rougher time having their soulmate come. And so, yes, I can think of a lady I recently worked with who had not found her soulmate in decades. And she had a really hard love history. It turns out she had been traumatized as a child and was really scared of it. And so she would sabotage it without even knowing what she was doing every time. And I privately coached her. It was very intense. And every time she would get close, this emergency situation would come up. And she literally ended up in the hospital with a panic attack. But what we did, I worked with her to get past the trauma, to heal, so she could start attracting better. And so she started trusting as she got to see that they're better men, and not all men are toxic, and there could be somebody for her. It took about a month for her to meet this amazing guy who has been so patient. And that's one of the hallmarks of soulmate, is that it's durable. You can go through some stuff and they're not going anywhere. And this guy has been that for her. He's younger and he's attractive, and cannot see past her. She is it for him. And it took her a while to really trust that. She had a lot of trust issues, and she would push people away. And every time she almost sabotaged, we get in there and change it. So she is very close to getting married to this guy, this younger, hot guy.
Wow.
And I had to walk her through a lot of stuff that was from her past, from her childhood even. So the hard cases, usually there's a reason. They're not manifesting, but anything can be healed, and it sure doesn't have to take long.
And what do you feel like did she bring? Because she was a hard case, but there's also, I can feel that there was a quality inside of her that had her come back to you, you know what I mean? And continue to stay open, even though she had gone for decades through that. So what do you think that quality was inside of her?
Well, I think, and this is what any coach will do, I had to show her, and we did a whole lot of work around her seeing her value and how lovable she really is and how worthy of love. And once she knew, she's also very successful, and she felt like she was intimidating, or she brought a lot of male energy, and that wasn't okay. Yeah, you will intimidate somebody who is insecure and not your person, but your person will get you, will admire what you do, and not be intimidated for a single moment, which is this guy that she's with now. So we had to get over a lot, for sure.
I love that story so much. Like, I love your stories. They're so this is extreme, where you really see like miracles happen.
Yeah.
Continue to believe it, right?
Well,
And
thank you.
one thing you talk about in your book is, that he will love your flaws. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think so many women have like, you know, I need to be 5'8" and blonde or brunette or whatever, right? And
Right.
if he finds out about this one thing, he's going to run for the hills.
Exactly. Well, one of the chapters in my book, Love Will Find You, is about the fatal flaw. When I was working with people privately a lot, I don't do it that much anymore, but over and over, everybody would have this thing that they thought made them unlovable and would send people screaming from the room. A lot of it, you couldn't even see. This one client was convinced she had these acne pits on one side of her face. So on dates, she'd be trying to go to her good side. And I couldn't even see them. I could not see them in the daylight. It was all in her head. And so part of it is healing. We get told so many messages. A lot of times it's from parents or classmates, and we internalize it. And I feel like somehow it's some secret way to keep love from you so you don't get hurt by focusing on them. And so a lot of healing has to go into that. And I always tell people, think about when you've loved somebody. They probably had flaws. Did you focus on them? No. You were enamored with the totality of their being, how amazing they were. And you didn't care about whatever flaws they may have. You probably didn't notice. That's how you will be loved too, for your whole being. And these little minor things you're making into a big deal would never count. Your soulmate will never see them, or if they do, they think they're cute. It's cute. I have a lot of examples of that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really so true. I mean, I had to actually learn to love myself when I met Brody, because Brody was loving all my quirks that I didn't, right? So I feel like the biggest challenge is the single woman will have is it like actually, you know, believing that, right? When the man finally loves her for all of who she is.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so refreshing. At first people test the waters and they don't trust it, but the guy doesn't go anywhere. He's there and he shows up and he keeps showing up, just like Brody did.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, let's talk a little bit more about that sort of sabotaging stage, right? Because I feel so many women are like, oh, he's not going to love me forever, or I'll show him who I really am, and then we'll see if he really loves me. You know, I'll show him that I can be a bitch, or that I can be really moody, or right. So what tip do you have for those women who constantly have this sort of testing, you know, stage that they walk every man through?
I think that your guy will pass the test, but the testing is a very negative energy and it can repel just what we want. It can have a repulsive energy that pushes them away. And so when I'm working with people privately, we look into that and they get in tune with when they're getting off center. And rather than act on that and say something, put their foot in their mouth, do some sabotaging behavior, they do a course correct, and they either call me or they do a process that we've worked on that will center them, and we cut that out, because it can sabotage your love life completely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And again, there's got to be the willingness there, right?
Yes.
And another thing that I always thought was interesting that you talked about and I never heard before was that there's like this opener, and then there's your soulmate, right? And so many women come to me and always say, well, is this my opener? Is this my soul? I don't know, right? So what would you tell women? How can they identify whether they're dealing with the opener? Because he can sometimes look very similar to the soulmate versus the soulmate himself.
Exactly. And it's just a label. Ultimately, you don't know until you know. There's certainly some signs on whether it is an opener or not. In psychology, it's called a transition person. And it's somebody to either get you warmed up to what it's like to be with somebody if you've been alone a long time, or to transition you out of grief if you're grieving a relationship or letting go. There are many reasons. My experience is usually if it is an opener, the good news is as it falls apart, somebody way better comes along who's just like that, but better, and it sticks and is more appropriate. So some of the signs it's just casual and not a soulmate, more of an opener, is that they never really commit very well. They might be unavailable, or you're not completely feeling it. It doesn't fit like a glove. You're not just getting that hit that this is a perfect fit, or if they're tearing you down. Anything like that where it's not at that highest level. Usually you can feel it after a while, and it's okay. Some people hang on to it too long. And when I work with them, we have to do some release work. If it's not the right person, it's never going to work out. but you want to keep going because there's someone way better ahead.
Yeah, like really letting go. That's what I see so many women say too. It's like, if I let this man go, nothing better will come around. This is as good as it gets. So what do you tell those women who are really just convinced? I just had my girlfriend, last year, and she was just, Antia, I don't know if he's like hot and he's all this and that, and I don't know if it's gonna get that good again.
I know. Well, that's what I call the voice of attachment. When you start getting attached to somebody, this voice will say, you'll never do better. This has got to be the one. This is your last chance, to get you to keep focusing on them and staying attached. I have processes, as you know, that I do to let go of that. And so we have to do some release where the rule is to hold on loosely and enjoy the ride, have fun. It's fine, but just don't try to put on it more than it is.
Yeah. Well, it's easier said than done, but I love that you have like your powerful work. So ladies, you definitely have to work with Kathryn to really experience that, because obviously it's not that simple. But once you do the work, it gets simpler, because, me coming from an anxious attachment style, and so many women I work with coming really from being an anxious attachment style, where it really goes in this survival, vibration.
Exactly. And that's why the releasing process is pretty intensive. It's one thing we specialized in crisis support. And then that anxiety has to be healed. It's from childhood. It's usually from hard parenting philosophies back in the day. We're not very good for keeping us whole and unscathed. And so the healing happens for so many people around that particular attachment issue. It can't work out that way. And as we've seen with you, you get over it. And then you find your love, and you never have to worry about being alone again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And I'm still getting used to it too, by the way. I'm waiting now for 4 years and I'm still.
I know. It takes a while. I remember just the other day, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a functional relationship. This is so crazy, because many people don't get that model growing up, what a functional, healthy relationship would even be like.
Right. I mean, just have all your needs met and being so loved that my only job is to increase my capacity to receive love. I'm always like, oh my gosh, my heart is overflowing, It's so much love. And what do you feel like women who come to you, like single women, and specifically the late bloomers, what do you feel like they're resisting the most? Are they resisting feeling a certain emotion, or what is it specifically they're resisting?
They think they're resisting hurt. And I have so many examples of that, but they think they're resisting fear. They think they're dodging a bullet. And yet it's this inner conflict, because on one hand, they want love so much. And on the other, they're scared to death of it, that they're going to get hurt. They're going to get disappointed. And so you have to heal these two and solve that inner conflict before they can find love. And so fear presents in many crazy ways. And I think I've seen it all at this point. But we have to heal that.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, it's like this resistance is like the biggest thing that gets in the way of really even getting into action, right?
Yes,
and speaking of action, Kathryn, is there like a quick exercise we can do, maybe 1-2 minutes, something to just give the women a little bit of a tap, like a taste of like what it could be like, or what's like coming up for them, like something, a quick short exercise or meditation?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that we know is that your belief acts as true until you substitute it with a better belief. And so I would ask everybody right now to close your eyes and think about your last few relationships. Or if you haven't had any, then that's a statement as well. And what was the pattern? Were they unavailable? Did you run away? I have like the runaway bride syndrome. I deal with a lot of those. Did you sabotage it? What happened? And as we see your pattern, we can trace it to the fear. The fear could be that I'm not enough. And so I don't deserve somebody who would commit to me. I'm scared I'm going to get tied up, and I value my freedom too much. I'm scared that I'm going to end up like my parents, fighting like cats and dogs. So just let yourself be shown the fear. What is the fear that's holding me back here? And there's always one. Otherwise, you'd have what you want. You'd be with your person. You'd be married. And so as you become aware of that fear, I want you to know the spiritual truth of that. The spiritual truth is something that's very positive, that's unlimited, that's the opposite of the fear. And so if the fear is, I'm going to get tied up, the truth is my soulmate relationship will make me feel more free to do what I want to do, more supported than I've ever been. If the fear is I'm going to get hurt again, then the spiritual truth is that your soulmate would never hurt a hair on your head. And as you come together, you will get healed of any bad relationship ideas or experiences you ever had. Your past will be healed completely. The fear might be that I'll end up alone, and you're so desperate that you push everybody away. And then the truth is, I'm never alone, and I do get love, and I can trust that and act from that place of faith. And so for whatever fear you have, there's the spiritual truth that you need to remind yourself over and over again, and look for evidence in the world that that is true. And then it will be so.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, really look for that evidence, because the brain sees what it expects to see. Right?
Well, there's confirmation bias. And so we look for what we believe. And if you believe every guy cheats, you will find every headline in the news of another cheating guy. But if we can change that to there's so many good guys, and my soulmate would never stray, and you start looking for good guys, then we build that belief up. And then that acts as true. And that's the fertile ground where soulmate can happen.
Oh, listen to this, lady. It's so valuable. Like, one last question that came to mind while you were doing the exercise was, what about those women who are just really energetically sensitive and they are empathic? And so it's kind of like they have this like tit tat with like being with people, but then also not wanting to be with people, right? Like, what can they do? Do you know what I mean? Right?
I do.
So introverted, but even a step further than that.
Well, an introverted sensitive is what you're talking about.
Protective of the energy field, right?
Right.
Just more sensitive. What would you tell those women just to kind of like start resolving that conflict that I'm sure gets in the way? I get women like this all the time, and that really keeps them from attracting the right man.
Well, the problem with being sensitive, sometimes you're tuned into the negative and you kind of focus on it. And so with those people, I have to take away the idea of rejection. They can take the ups and downs that happen with dating a lot harder, and they can sabotage or just run away and hide. And so the trick is to reframe that. One of the things that I teach people is that there is no rejection. There's only the wrong fit. And we pace their dating life differently. I'm also a sensitive introvert, so I do attract a lot of introverts and work with them, and we pace them, and we create a different experience that goes with what they can deal with. Your soulmate comes to you in a way you can handle. You're not required to get out there in some big way that's wrong for your nature. And so we create an experience that is amenable for how they are. And it always is true. I've had introverts where their soulmate shows up right at their door. They never even had to leave. So
it is true, ladies. It's like, one thing you always say, Kathryn, is like, you will have a wreck in your yard.
My Southern saying, that's right.
Awesome. Well, we're coming to an end here, ladies. So Kathryn, for the women who are just really enticed and encouraged by your words of wisdom and of hope and of love, like, what is it that you have to offer them so they can come more into your world?
Well, I wanted your viewers to get a little taste of how I work and experience that. So that I'm giving you guys a 5-minute soul call meditation. And that kind of lines you up. It heals some of the things we're talking about so that you start inviting them in and become magnetic. And then also a free class called The Ridiculously Easy Way to Love. And that shows you how you can manifest love in under 10 minutes, which many of my wall of weddings did. They had that shift just like that. And next thing, here comes Mr. Right.
Wow. 10 minutes, ladies. So for the busy women out there, right? Like, no excuses.
That's right.
If you
don't have to wait any longer.
Yeah. If you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have time for your soulmate. So you really want to take that time. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Kathryn. It's been such a pleasure and honor to have you. And, I'm always learning every single time when I talk to you.
Oh, thank you, Antia. Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Aw, thank you. And for the ladies, I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Was that absolutely delicious? We just love how every single expert has those juicy pieces of wisdom for you to enjoy. Look, if you want to own the entire Magnetize the Man series, we invite you to get our Magnetize the Man VIP All Access package. Not only will you own the entire video series, but also you will get our Magnetize the Man Masterclass that teaches you the 3-step formula, step by step, on how to attract the right man for you. You also get some other juicy secret trainings and a one-on-one call with me where we personalize your individual journey to attract that right man for you as soon as possible. So look, to get that, click the link below that says get access now, and you get it all. Own the entire series, including all the juicy bonuses, well worth over $1,400 for nearly the fraction of the cost. All right, we will see you in the next interview.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.
Mwah.